What was that?
It's too early.
And good morning, everybody. We are live. I've got Mario with me here, and we're going to be talking about James O'Keefe's newest release.
Yes.
And wow, it's a banger. Okay, so, how do we want to start, Mario? You want to just kind of summarize this thing for us?
I'm not having a great morning. I'm just gonna put it out there right now for the audience. Okay.
We can see that.
Um, sure. So yeah. So what's going on? The U.S. federal government. Okay.
Microphone.
The U.S. federal government issues hundreds of billions of dollars of contracts a year. Okay, to outside companies. Okay, to private companies, um, to perform services for the United States government. Okay. Now, within that structure, all right, of how these contracts get doled out, there are certain basically DEI, okay, prescriptions in place, okay, for who gets doled out this money. There is such a thing in this country called a progressive stack, all right, where various minorities or perceived disenfranchised or um, um, groups that have some historical grievance, okay, whatever, all right, are given the contracts, given preferential treatment in the issuing of government contracts. Number one being, of course, Native Americans. All right.
I, Before we get too far down that rabbit hole, Mario, or rather, in support of the claim, I would reference Ibram X. Kendi's writings where he makes the argument that the solution to past injustice is future racism.
Right.
Right. The
Correct.
solution is more racism. Right. This is a black guy that's super pro reparations, and essentially what he's saying is, Kierkegaard is right. The leveling process is real. And what we need is more leveling process.
Yep. Well,
And we need to weaponize that leveling process on behalf of people based on immutable characteristics, obliterating meritocracy for the sake of communism, so that you are all, none, you are not a beautiful and special butterfly. You are the same decaying matter as everything else. That is essentially the position of communism, and that's how we get DEI. So we're going to talk a little bit about what a lot of critics will call the unintended consequences of things like affirmative action and the Civil Rights Act. And I'm going to tell you that Hamlin's razor absolutely shows us that while he may argue that you should never attribute to malice that which can be explained by incompetence, when you have repeated instances of what are being called unintended consequences, what you have are not unintended consequences, right? If it cannot be explained through incompetence, then the only reasonable solution, the only reasonable outcome, the only reasonable conclusion, rather, is that the outcome was intended, ergo malice.
well, it was always the case ever since affirmative action began in the 70s. Okay, it's just Ibram X Kendi, whatever the fuck his name is, um, just went out blatantly said the subtext out loud. Okay, that was always the case. Discrimination is good if it's against white people. All right, and unfortunately, that has been the federal government's position for decades. Now, as I was saying about the progressive stack, you know what I mean? Like, you're a black man, okay, you're a victim. You're a black female, oh, you're even more of a victim. You're a black female trans person, okay, now you're like triple points victim, okay. You're Jewish, somehow you're a victim, okay. Um, but what takes the cake more than anything would be, say, a Native American, right? Native American would be the perfection of aggrieved groups, all right, within the United States. So you can, if one was so inclined, one could basically make it their grift to take advantage of the way that the federal government views Native Americans for the purposes of DEI, and that's exactly what's been going on. Okay, so you get tribal councils or Native American groups, okay, that will offer companies that seek federal contracts essentially their protection, literally like mafia style. All right, by taking 51% control of their company so that their company can be deemed what is called a minority or minority owned business. Okay, in particular, in this case, a Native American-owned business. All right, which will win the contract every single time with the federal government in a no bid fashion. Okay, they don't even have to compete for it. Right. So we already have a problem where you're going to have overrun of costs simply for the fact that there was no competition whatsoever to getting that contract. Okay, um, and then that's where the real fun begins. So a company like this will catch this contract. Now, the way that the rules are written is, if you are a primary contractor, then you must perform at least 51% of the job that you signed up to do. Okay, and 49% of that job can be subcontracted, right, to other companies. Most likely, the companies that were actually the ones most qualified to doing this job for the government in the first place. Okay.
In fact, not to
Um,
put too fine a point on it, but the other companies that were bidding on the contract.
Correct. The other companies
So
that were bidding
essentially,
on
you're
the
stealing
contract.
the contract from the actual contractors that do that kind of work.
Yep.
You're presenting yourself to the government as a business or a contractor who specializes in this kind of work. You're required by the law to be the specialist that performs the majority of the work, and
Right.
then you just go and hire the other guys. So we've
So
we've
what?
talked many times. Many times I've said in the past that there is nothing, and I do mean this. There is no exception to this statement. There is nothing that is done by the federal government or any state government that cannot be done better and cheaper by private industry. And I do mean literally nothing, not even the courts. Private judges paid on bounty would be more efficient and effective than what we have in government today.
I agree. And so
Not
what
police, not roads, not hospitals, not even the conduct of war.
James O'Keefe of the O'Keefe Media Group discovered through a series of interviews is that, in fact, it is like up to like 80% of the work, all right, is being subcontracted out by the primary contract holder, okay, which the DEI company. So they're in violation they're in violation of the law, okay, in that regards. Um, and also the Native American groups, okay, the Native American groups will actively shop for other companies to basically become part of their network. Basically, like, hey, give us 51% of your company, and then we'll be able to get you the government contracts, okay, that you're looking for. So they're literally like just pimping themselves out, right? Um, and it's even more egregious when you look at some of the individuals who are one individual interviewed by James O'Keefe, an Indian man, as in like Dot, right? Dot
Right, with a
Indian.
dot, not a feather.
That's right, Dot, not a feather. Basically,
And
Indian.
in fact, in this context, he is the wrong kind of Indian.
He's the wrong Indian. That's right. Yeah. So it's a vehicle for grift, all right? And it's basically the government not getting the best deal, the government wasting a shit ton of taxpayer money. What else is new? And yeah, Hey, Danny says this was a 9-month investigation by O'Keefe. That's correct. If you wonder why O'Keefe has been relatively quiet recently, it's because he's been working on this, and there's more he's going to expose about it. All right, but it is, yeah, it's a progressive stack. The progressive stack being weaponized essentially to secure government contracts, and then all the work is sublet out to the companies that should have been doing the job in the first place. So, yeah, it's a complete scam. And it was exacerbated by decisions made by the Biden administration, because of course.
Because of course it was.
Because of course.
And the auto pin. Let's be fair to President Biden. Let's make sure we're very very fair to President Biden. Um, in the auto pin presidency, Joe Biden made none of the decisions. So what really happened with Biden's presidency is uh, we were we were force fed a dog king, right? So the United States was essentially captured by the DEI death cult. And when they managed to complete their conquest and totally capture the United States government, they appointed a dog king. I'm glad Pitt Danny's watching because he's the one that taught me about this concept. Basically, they came in, they conquered the village, and then they took the village idiot and put him in charge to add insult to injury. Right? We have conquered you, and now you will worship this turd. You will be forced to pay homage and obedience to this utterly repulsive creature in order to add insult to injury and to further humiliate you and remind you every day that you were beaten, that your honor, your integrity, and your moral fortitude were not sufficient to overcome absolute demoralizing evil, and you must be further and continuously demoralized. Just to be totally fair to President Biden.
That's basically all 4 years of the Biden administration.
Correct.
As far as for Americans, okay?
Make no mistake, Obama was similar. Obama was a similar case.
Right. But Obama didn't have the justification, the false justification of, say, a January 6th to basically unleash inquisitorial hell upon the American people. All right. So, and that's exactly what the Biden administration did. Also, it was more blatant. It's more blatant under Biden. Obama, for all of his faults, was at least cognitively functioning. Okay, he was cognizant. All right. Whereas Joe Biden was not. With Joe Biden, you had anyone high enough, anyone GS-16, anyone in the SES, special select executive service, all right, essentially was able to do whatever the hell they wanted with no oversight, no accountability.
Right.
It was the ultimate dream of the bureaucracy to have an invalid as president, and basically, when the cat's away, the mice will play, right? So that's what happened. Who is Joe Booty? Joe Booty. Remember the Biden State of the Union speech set up like a devil's lair? Yes.
Devil's lair is a pretty generous reference because Biden read speech. Let's pull that image up just to remind you guys. This was something like, especially in the midst of all the Trump's a Nazi, Trump's evil, Trump's a fascist rhetoric. This was the scene. This was the stage.
Oh my God! It's Dark Brandon.
Yeah.
Dark Brandon.
I mean, it could not have looked more authoritarian and, shall we say, fascistic, because they like that word. So, well, Mark, you want to let's get into the video a bit. But before we get into the video, because part of the nature of this show is we promise you a half an hour at least, and I ain't gonna lie, I'm down to clown this morning. I got time. So Mario, you're gonna have to pull the plug on this one when you have to roll. But right. Let's go ahead and watch a little bit of the video and react and talk about it.
65 for us being the prime, and then 35. So 65 million. Yeah. Yes. That's a good deal right there.
So there he is. There's one of the guys from the company saying that they'll secure $100 million contract and they keep 65% of this government contract, pay 35% out to the contractors, and as we'll see later, they are contracting away something in the neighborhood of 80% of the actual work, which is to say that they're essentially keeping the money for nothing.
Posed as headhunters looking to hire someone who could get us government money contracts with the IRS.
And you pay these like Accentures to do the job. And so it's really minimal work.
Yeah.
Yes.
Honestly, really, in reality, that's what's happening. I'm not talking bad about my firm, but yeah.
It appears as though these companies are just shell companies, just pass-throughs.
It sounds like you're a pass-through.
Yeah.
Pass-through. Pass-through.
Unless Elon comes in and changes the book, changes.
I love how bold O'Keefe is with stuff like this. He basically looks at the guy and says, "So you do crime, right? You do crime? Oh yeah. We do crime. Yeah, that's what we do, right? Like, one of these days, crooked businessmen and crooked politicians are going to learn. Listen, son, if you find yourself on a date with a chick that's just way too hot for you, she's James O'Keefe."
To take out the pass-through, so to speak.
I don't think they will dare to touch the native, Americans or native Indians.
They're not going to touch the Native Americans. It's a layer of protection. Man, most people don't even know your ATI name.
But they make good money though.
They make great money. I mean, you fly under the radar and you take 65%, and nobody even knows your name. Nice work. Hey, God bless America. And here's the flying under the radar, right?
My name is James O'Keefe.
I love the ugly ass wig, Mario. It reminds me of the scene in Boondock Saints where what's his face, the FBI agent,
William Dafoe.
Yes, Willem Dafoe shows up to raid the mob boss headquarters in drag. And they act like the ugliest woman you've ever seen. This is Steven Tyler in drag. And the mobsters are all excited about this hooker that just showed up before he just goes ham and starts blasting everybody.
Yeah, I wonder what are the odds that Anish Abraham that's not his real name. Abraham? Okay, got it. Yeah.
Right.
Unless you're like one in 100 million Jewish convert in the old Portuguese colonial city of Goa. Okay, is that what you are, sir? No, he looks Gujarati. Like if you look at him, you can actually see the same facial characteristics as Kash Patel. That man is a Patel. He is pure Gujarati. All right.
And hey, Pitt Danny points out this wasn't his usual honeypot setup. That's true. That's fair. I cracked the joke about every hot chick that's into the politicians is in fact James O'Keefe in drag. Obviously that's a joke. It's a bit of a meme because there was one where he nailed he picked up a gay guy on Grindr who was all too happy to spill all the beans on some corrupt government. I don't remember which expose that was, but it was like he's at the table. He's like, you know, I'm James O'Keefe, right? What, dude? I put on a pair of glasses like Clark Kent. Really, you didn't understand this?
Well, I mean, Washington D.C. is the gayest city in America. Okay,
yes,
by far, gayer than San Francisco. So, and James O'Keefe, man, he can catfish some. Man, he can catfish some homos like no one else. All right, like they want. I mean, it's too bad. It's too bad Jigglypuff's not here this morning. Okay.
Maybe that should have been the thumbnail this morning instead of this, which I'm pretty proud of. I thought this was a pretty solid thumbnail, but maybe I should have gone with O'Keefe on a pier just pulling another catfish out of the water.
Right.
I'll have to remember that for the future.
Too bad. Yeah, if Jigglypuff was here this morning. I would like to ask him, what is it about this James O'Keefe, okay, that breaks your people every time? What is it about him that's so irresistible that you people fall over yourselves to give him his information? Jigglypuff, explain it.
Pitt Danny says they're proud of their crimes. That is a part of this. Because let's, in all fairness, when you're talking about people who are getting away with something, when we talk about people who are getting away with something, part of the part of it, it's not just making the money. It's not just getting the power. It's borrowing daddy's car to go on a date and getting lucky in the back seat. You're getting away with something. You've got this little secret now. It's exciting, right? And having a little secret, two men can keep a secret if one of them is dead, right? So that's the big downfall for criminals generally is you need to tell someone. You need someone to be it's impressive, but it doesn't matter if what you're doing is impressive because you're so clever, you're so slick, if nobody knows you're getting away with it, right? The biggest bad guys are getting away with it because they are absolutely dedicated to the power and not the prestige of it. But the majority of your criminals are the lower level guys like this guy who he needs somebody to be impressed by just how clever he is, by just how slick he was in screwing the man, in stealing money from Americans.
And with Indian men in particular, and other Southeast Asians, part of their culture, it is an act of masculinity, okay, to rip someone off, to scam someone, all right? That is, scamming is a virtue in their culture, all right? Which is one of the many reasons why immigration from India should be severely curtailed, okay?
We should put this guy's face on a T-shirt, like Jim Bro style, with a slogan on it that says, "Do you even scam, bro?"
Yeah, pretty much. Kind of looking.
Cheers! God bless America! Yeah, baby!
In our previous expose on ATI Government Solutions, a technology contractor, we uncovered them claiming 8A, Native American-owned small business status, while being entirely operated by Caucasian DC executives with Firmage Crutchfield as the CEO, and his wife, Olympic swimmer Marina Molyayeva, as CFO, his business partner Scott Deutschman as CDO, and the Susan...
I love that the two white guys, okay, you've got the crutch, and you've got the German man. Deutschman, literally German man.
But that's the funny thing is he's not actually a German man. He is Jewish.
No. Well, not mutually exclusive.
Correct.
Indian rancheria seemingly playing no role at all, other than to appear as 51% owners, but only on paper. They're raking in hundreds of millions of taxpayer dollars in federal contracts, outsourcing 80% of the labor to subcontractors, well above the legal limit of 50%, essentially serving as a pass-through company. We actually hear the words pass-through in these undercover recordings stated by multiple employees.
And I tell you, pass-throughs are a great thing as well.
Yeah.
And according to Cassis versus United States, well, they may be committing wire fraud, conspiracy for fraudulent inducement. And within a couple hours of releasing that video on Monday, the administrator of the Small Business Administration, Kelly Loeffler, announced that the SBA will officially be conducting an investigation into ATI Government Solutions and the Susanville Indian Rancheria, and that there is a full...
And, that's not enough. It's a good start. Thanks, Kelly. We appreciate it. I will go this far. A similar investigation should be launched into every single company without exception that lists themselves officially as disadvantaged owned. I don't care if you're talking black owned, woman owned, or even veteran owned. If you're getting government contracts based on some characteristic, and I might be a little softer on the veteran owned because that's a credential, not an immutable characteristic, but similarly, there are these advantages for your status, and this is the leveling process in full display. Every attempt to ameliorate the leveling process is itself a leveling process. The very existence of this 8A program, just like the very existence of affirmative action. Affirmative action is an unlawful program. It is an illegal program. Same thing with this 8A program, because ostensibly under the the Civil Rights Act, the idea is that it is illegal to discriminate based on immutable characteristics, age, race, sex, preference, whatever. And that there exist programs through the federal government that give advantage to people based on those immutable characteristics is a blatant violation of the law in that regard.
It's been a violation of the 14th Amendment, and it has been since these ideas first came to fruition in 1964.
Yeah, and that was the next thing I was going to say. Actually, the 1964, the Civil Rights Act itself is a violation of the 14th Amendment.
Yeah,
it reads as if the intent is to enforce the 14th Amendment, but like I said earlier, if the constant and consistently predictable outcome of all of these activities are always and everywhere an avalanche of unintended consequences, then we can no longer reasonably believe that the consequences are unintended, right? The Affordable Care Act is a great example of that, because we're told that we saw medical costs spike as an unintended consequence of the interference of government programs and policies. But I'll take you back to 2010, the lead up to the passage of the Affordable Care Act, and what were the critics saying? This is how and why we will have this consequence, right? And one of the obvious criticisms there is, if you guarantee everybody health insurance without considering pre-existing conditions, what you're selling fire insurance to people whose houses are currently on fire. That's not insurance. That is the opposite of insurance, because insurance presupposes that risk exists and you're taking measures to mitigate risk, right? If the house is already on fire, you have already incurred the harm. You are no longer mitigating risk. You are now you're now correcting injury. And that is not the same thing. So when you fundamentally change the definition of a word,
and there is no solution to that problem, is there?
No.
Say other than like just executing people with pre-existing conditions, and like mandating health insurance payments from the age of 18, like mandatory health insurance payments.
Well, no, there was actually a mechanism in place before the.
You could have Obamacare if you also had like federal cullings, okay, where health and human services representatives would go state to state and start slaughter the least of the people, right?
No, so before Obamacare was in place, the way it worked is you could get insurance if you had a pre-existing condition. You could get medical insurance if you had a pre-existing condition. But what you would get is an insurance policy that would go in force. It would cover everything except for the pre-existing condition for an exclusionary period. And then after a period of like a year, then you would start to get coverage for your pre-existing condition. And that was to establish a record of security for the insurer, because they were accepting risk. And then, of course, you'd have... and Danny points out COBRA. That was another option for when you were leaving a job where you had employer-provided insurance. You were trying to move on to private insurance that would fill the gap there. But there were solutions in place. The narrative that people with pre-existing conditions absolutely could not get insurance was always and everywhere a complete and utter lie. It was false. It was false on the face of it from the beginning. Now that the insurance, if I show up and I'm a diabetic that doesn't take my medication, and I'm losing a foot every week, then obviously I'm a much higher risk, and I'm going to incur a higher premium to cover that risk, because the risk is almost guaranteed. The greater the probability that it's going to cost the insurance company money, well, the more money they have to get to make it worth their while to cover you. Because you could say this about a lot of industries. It's a business and they're in the business of making money. But add to that, when you're talking about an insurance business, part of the business model for that company to make money is to remain sufficiently solvent to actually provide the insurance guarantees that they purport to provide. If they go bankrupt, they go bankrupt. And then, in the event of an insurance company filing bankruptcy, every customer they have is a potential creditor. That's a big deal.
How many pre-existing conditions, pre-existing health conditions do we have in the United States as a result of people eating Walmart Great Value brands food as like the primary source of nutrition? Okay,
majority of them.
Our food is poisonous. All right.
Yeah.
Food and water are poisoned. But I guess we're a little off topic today.
Yeah,
aren't we? A little bit.
Yeah, let's go.
Review underway for the entire 8A program, acknowledging billions of dollars in federal contracts have been run through shell companies, pass-throughs, and other illegal schemes. Maybe we'll finally see some of that accountability that you've all been hoping for.
Now, right there, basically that's Loeffler saying that they're going to do, at least ostensibly, they're promising to do exactly what I said, is and investigate, a full review of the 8A program. So that suggests that there will be at least some low-level investigation of every business that is receiving funding through that program. And that could be as simple as, Aunt Jemima owns a cupcake store on Main Street, and you go in and say, "Hey, you're an 8A recipient? Yeah, you making cupcakes? Yes, ma'am. Okay, I see the big black woman making the cupcakes. This one's legit. This one's not a fraud. Cool. I'll tell you what. I'll take a red velvet cupcake, and you have a nice day. Investigation complete." But it needs to happen for everybody who's getting money through a program of that sort.
Well, so this 8A program is administered by the Small Business Association, the SBA, which we have covered as a source of fraud within the government, before on this program, through particularly through the all the immigrant-only loans that are available to non-citizens who wish to start a business in America. The Indian immigrants in particular are experts at this type at defrauding the SBA for basically every tax dollar they could possibly get to qualify for. All right. So this is under the SBA, and the current head of the SBA has promised to look into this. Okay. But I think the SBA in general needs to go the way of USAID and just be basically discontinued. They're when it's founded upon corruption, all right, when it's founded upon basically creating an unequal playing field for loans, all right, for different groups of people within the United States, immigrant versus citizen, then it just needs to be discontinued, all right, and the Supreme Court is moving in that direction, all right, basically looking to just dismantle every fucking program that we have implemented to help any group of people against YT, since 1964. All of that stuff is subject to dismissal and removal from the government's charter. And not a moment too soon. So.
Right. So let's get back into the video a little bit.
Maybe we'll finally see some of that accountability that you've all been hoping for. As we released the piece, I noticed hundreds of comments from people that have had their own personal experience with these schemes. Kelly Loeffler encourages whistleblowers to reach out and report such schemes to the SBA complaints and submission form at sbax.sba.gov/OIGCSS. Now we introduce you to the next individual at ATI we caught on tape, introducing Senior Director Anish Abraham.
So the company that I work for is API Government Solutions. and the title is Senior Director, and I do the program and portfolio management of that.
Anish thinks he's at a job interview right now for the position of Technical Director of Procurement at a salary of $400,000 a year with our fictitious company, Sev Zero Solutions. We created a website for the fake company and reached out to employees of ATI with a very lucrative job offer. We're here in Jupiter, Florida, outside the Thousand North restaurant owned by Michael Jordan. Now is inside this restaurant in the bar area that Anish Abraham met with me.
You know, I could set up a website.
Yeah. You could do this. You could do this. But you have to have a criminal mind to do this. That's the problem. And people like Anish Abraham have a criminal mind. Okay, have a mind to scam. Look at this man's face is disgusting. I want to deport him just because of the way he looks, like dead-eyed,
my undercover reporter,
piss-colored whites of his eyes, drinking
we
fucking
pose
cow
as
piss.
headhunters
Get out of my country.
looking to hire
Yeah. Yeah.
someone who could get us government money contracts with the IRS. Anish Abraham has told us he's worked for ATI for over 2 years, procuring a $100 million contract with the IRS.
So the new contract that we signed up for, or we given the proposal for, is basically close to $100 million.
That one contract with the IRS is $100 million?
Yeah, that one is basically, yeah. We have the prime on that, but Accenture will be the sub.
Okay. In a case like that, what's the percentage that ATI will retain from that $100 million?
65, approximately 65, 35. That's the record.
So 35% for you?
No, 65 for us being the prime,
Got it.
and then 35.
65% revenue.
Okay, can you still hear me, Mario?
I can.
Oh, that's interesting because something just went very wrong over here. Y'all bear with me. Everything just crashed out over here. I don't even know where the studio went. Okay, yeah. Everything just went very wrong.
Pretty sure everyone can still hear you if I can. Okay.
Okay, let's hope so. I'm gonna let the video play for a minute while I try to reboot.
Okay.
So if you lose Mario, just keep talking and I'll be with you as soon as I can.
Okay. Yeah, Aaron Olson says we can hear you. So not sure
Okay,
what
cool.
happened on your end.
And a $100 million contract.
Then you just manage these Accenture people. You really sit back and you don't do the job,
Yeah.
right?
65% of the money.
Right? They're doing the
65% of the money.
Yes.
For the total contract value.
That's
Yeah.
$65 million.
Yeah.
Yes.
Contract value, yeah.
That's a good deal right there.
Now, the SBA regulations require that the prime contractor ATI perform the, quote, primary and vital contract requirements, and that the prime contractor not be, quote, unusually reliant on the subcontractors for their expertise. Anish explained that for the
So that sounds like what Anish and his people are doing is just straight up breaking the law.
They operate a company which is basically a shell company. Okay, they call it a pass through. It just exists so that on paper the project is owned, the project is controlled, is contracted to a minority-owned business, in particular the ultimate minority, Native American, right? And then everything is basically passed off to other companies that are actually capable of fulfilling the contract, and they collect, as he said there, 65% of the contract's value. Fucking ridiculous.
So let's hop over to this other video because this girl goes into a little more detail on the 80-20 split.
20%, and their subcontractors do like 80% of the work.
80% of the work.
I don't know if we want to share that they do all the work.
No, never. So we do about 20% of the work.
20%.
Right?
these government contractors like ATI taking advantage of their
Hey, I don't know if we want to share that we only do 20%. Oh no. Right. And of course, toward the end there, let's see, where's the, yeah, I love this bit. Damn it.
How about that? Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Exactly.
God, that wig he's wearing is
Vino
dumb.
Veritas. No party like a Jim Keefe party. Oh my gosh, I can't believe that. I can't believe that. This is unbelievable. She said 20%, they only do 20% of the work.
I heard that part. I was like, boom.
She said, don't tell anybody.
Yeah.
50, only on paper. She said, only on paper.
Only on amazing.
Only on paper. She said, pass-throughs. She said, but we don't want that to leave this. She says, loopholes, pass-throughs, we only do 20% of the work. I mean, this is unbelievable. This is unbelievable. We got the story, man.
And that right there, right? Yeah, let's bring the cameras back up, Mario. That's probably worth closing on right there. That's kind of the genius of how O'Keefe does these gags. We've seen it before. He'll do the release, and then the company will come out and they'll make a press release, a press statement, or whatever. Oh well, no, this was taken out of context here, and blah 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 blah, and then the next day, as soon as the company makes their professional PR manicured excuses, O'Keefe comes out and he says, "Oh, but we also have you on tape saying this, so your entire backpedal is complete bullshit, and we can already prove that."
Yep. Jiggly Plum is now here in the chat. Hey, Jiggly Plum, what is it about James O'Keefe that just catfishes you guys with ease? What is it about him? What is it that you can't resist? Okay. Also, Malabanks.
Is it this lemon face? Does that do it for you?
Ma Ilbank says that Lincoln says, "Hey, Mr. Chris and Mr. Mario." Who is Lincoln? Is Lincoln like a parakeet? What is
No. Our buddy Megan has two boys. And good morning, Lincoln. Good. I'm glad you're watching with mommy this morning. Y'all need to get out here, but I mean we'll see you on the 1st anyway. But yeah, the Wilbankses have two boys. And they are good friends with our kids. Megan and I went to high school together, so we've been friends for a while.
Gotcha.
And Jiggly Plum says, "I don't know. He's just a total babe."
They want to believe. That's why they want to believe. It's
It's the
same delusion. It's the same delusion a man has when he's simping for a woman out of his range. Got it. I just wanted to believe. It made me feel good. Oh no! I ruined my company. Yep.
Yeah. So his new show is called "My Price Is My Life." Oh, that's bold. Especially in the modern context, that's incredibly bold.
In the aftermath of Charlie Kirk, yes, my price is my life. There are people willing to punch that ticket there, but more power to you.
Yep. Jiggly says he ain't no cam. That's fair, but he is doing the Lord's work.
We need to make Cameron our undercover investigative reporter. Okay, we'll put a wig on him. Okay, put a wig on him. Get his makeup done, and we'll send him into the belly of the beast. All right, to basically to catfish everyone.
We need to just put a very low profile button camera on Cameron, and just let him feed us footage from various locations, because whew.
Atlanta does furry conventions, right? Yeah. We need to send Cameron. We need to send Cameron as an investigative reporter with a hidden camera into FurCon. All right, Atlanta. Please make this happen. Please, Cameron won't listen to me. Okay, Cameron will not listen to me. You have to do this, Chris. Okay. Maybe make him wear a diaper. Make him... for authenticity.
You don't think I should do it? I'll just go dress as Harambe.
No. Not you. Not you.
No, would that be considered blackface?
It would. I mean, when they see you, they know it's a trap. Okay. When they see Cameron, all right, they see that Twinkie goodness, all right, and they'll spill the beans.
Jiggly Plum asks, "What is your persona, Mario?" Mario's persona is Luigi.
I've never been asked. That's a good question. I have no idea. All right, I have never once even entertained the idea of being a friend. No, not since I was like playing dress up or make believe as like a 5-year-old boy. Okay, have I had a persona, if you will? All right. Yep.
It would actually, it would actually be what was the little dinosaur that Mario rode around on?
Yoshi.
There you go.
Yeah, if I was going to play dress up, I would basically shave the beard, keep the mustache, have a red hat, blue suspenders, and a red shirt. Okay, I would be Mario. All right.
And your coffee cup.
Yep. That's right. Yep. Jigglypuff would be a walrus. Interesting. Cuckoo, cuckoo.
You beat me to it.
All right. Well,
all right, guys. Well, I think that's about all I've got for you for this morning. So O'Keefe says he's dropping another video at 1:00 today. I will watch. I'm going to look out for it and try to watch it as soon as it drops. And Mario and I will get on the phone as soon as that video drops and talk about whether or not we need to do a reaction, a response, or whatever immediately. It might be worth popping up and covering it later this afternoon, and guys, just look out for it, because if O'Keefe's pattern tells us anything, it's that this is going to be spicy. This is going to be worth knowing about, and we're rapidly approaching. Y'all need to be calling people. Y'all need to be calling representatives. Y'all need to be calling your congressmen. Hey, what are you doing about this? What are you doing about this? Of course, the government's still shut down, which I don't know about you, Mario, but I'm pretty much okay with it.
It's fine. I'm waiting for the. I want to see the Snapocalypse. Okay, Snapocalypse now. Right?
Yes.
November 1st. November 1st. EBT cards don't get refilled. Okay. Someone. It's a taxpayer responsibility to feed my kids. Someone gonna feed my kids. Someone gotta feed my children. I want to see it. Snapocalypse now. Black people threatening we're going to shoplift if you don't like fulfill our cards, right? Like, as if you weren't doing that already. Okay,
I'm too old for it now. Back in the day though, I wish I already had a YouTube channel back in the day when I was younger, and I used to go. There were about 5 years in a row there that every year I would go to the nearest ghettoest Walmart I could find on Black Friday, just to watch the fights. I would literally walk around the toy department with popcorn. Right. But
just take it in the free show.
Yeah. Back then social media didn't exist yet, and this was early like 2000s. Early 2000s. So I did this in Atlanta. I did this in Savannah. I did it in Conyers. And it was always a hell of a show. Targets, not so much. Walmart's, that was choice.
My favorite image from the summer of Black Lives Matter, okay, was that particular scene where it was a Target in Target in like Milwaukee, okay, or Minneapolis, one of those. And it shows a bunch of basically black people looking like 2001 Space Odyssey, like the apes like clubbing. They're clubbing the registers, okay, trying to get the money out of them, right? Behaving like absolute savages. And then if you look at the background in the corner, there's a white guy who also looted the store. He's walking out with just a single luxury Lego set. Like that would be me. That would be me. The store's on fire. Store's on fire.
I'll take this. I'll take this espresso machine while nobody's.
Exactly. I think black people are causing a sufficient diversion for me. Oh hell. Let me get that collector's edition Millennium Falcon. All right. I'm good.
This is the Lego Death Star. Based.
Classic. Yep.
In fact, star-based. All right. So we'll go ahead and put a pin in it there. Thanks for watching this morning, guys.
Pit Danny, I don't know if she'll have time he'll have time to respond. Congressman Scott. You mean is it Rick Scott? Are you a Florida man, Pit Danny? Talking about Senator Scott?
No, he's talking about his congressman. Danny's in. Well, I don't want to out him.
Naming a state isn't doxing someone, unless it's like Rhode Island. Then everyone knows.
Because Rhode Island is that big around. Yeah. My left nut is bigger than Rhode Island.
David Scott.
Scott Conyers.
Oh,
yeah.
God. Oh, he's still in Conyers. Hey, man. All the white people left. What are you doing there? Get the fuck out of there, dude.
You're not wrong. You are not wrong.
I don't care what the topic is. I'll find a way to make this show racist. Okay? That's my specialty.
All right, guys. Y'all be safe out there. We love you, and we will see you tomorrow.
Ciao.